Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Vani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Friday, August 16th. Stocks are looking to keep up the winning pace this morning after all three major indices closed in the green yesterday. The Dow jumped 554 points, or 1.39%. The S&P 500 climbed 88 points, or 1.61%. The Nasdaq popped 401 points, or 2.34%. Bill, let's get into Friday action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're down 0.18% this morning, about 0.2%. The markets are still continuing to price in that positive economic data yesterday. We saw big gains yesterday, maybe a little bit overdone. This morning we got housing starts and building permits. That's scheduled to come out before the bell. We had earnings reports from AMAT last night. Overseas, I see China is preparing to lower its prime rate next week. That could be positive for some of these Chinese stocks that we're seeing some good, strong moves in. In the UK, retail sales figures are positive, but a little lower than expectations. Want to point out, we got that Jackson Hole conference going on next week. We got the Fed meeting minutes happening next week. Powell's going to be speaking next Friday. He's going to be speaking at 10 a.m. It appears, but we're looking at what happened last night overseas, and we're looking or this morning we'll look at the DAX. The DAX is up 93 points, or 0.52%. We're seeing gains in autos and banks. The FTSE is actually down 0.53%. That's 44 points. It's about that resale sales data. It came in at positive 0.5%. Expectations were for it to come in at 0.7%. So it was slightly lower, and that's causing some weakness in the FTSE this morning. But the CAC is higher by 11 points, or 0.15%, and headed for a weekly gain. So that's good. And you look last night in Asia, and we saw that the Nikkei jumped 1,336 points. That's 3.64%. You saw gains in technology stocks really moving that market in Tokyo last night. Hong Kong and China. Hong Kong jumped 321 points, or 1.88%. China was the Shanghai was flat to higher. It was up 2 points, or 0.07%. Now, the positive action in the U.S. really did help Hong Kong last night. But there's also indications that a China Central Bank, the PBOC, is going to be lowering its benchmark loan rate next week, which did help the Hong Kong markets, and Shanghai just kind of like they're waiting. They're waiting for that report. So we'll have to see what happens when that report comes out next week. But then we're just turning our attention to oil, because oil's kind of the big story right now. We're seeing oil prices fall hard. You got WTI at $76.01 a barrel. That's down 2.75%. We're looking at Brent at $79.06 a barrel. That's down 2.44%. 2.44%. Listen, China's demand is said to be weak. We know that. U.S. economic expansion is positive. That should help move prices higher, but it's not following through. It's why? Because the focus is on the Middle East tensions. The talks are said to be ongoing, and progress is said to be made. I don't think the markets believe in that, because that's what they've always been saying. They talk about how the framework is there. We're just filling in the gaps. The gaps are wide. Hamas isn't there. They're said to be talking in like proxy through one of the countries that are there, but we'll have to see. And that Iranian strike on Israel is still a possibility, but there's some caution there as well. So I think that maybe something could happen with these stocks. We'll have to wait and see. But prices in oil are falling hard this morning. We'll have to see what the Middle East peace stocks are really in focus, and that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report, Emily.
And Bill, from that, we can tell that you're focusing on, a number of buckets of interest here today, and you're watching all the market moving news. You follow earnings action every morning, economic events, and the day's other market moving headlines, as we can hear. And, on this Friday, as we've caught this sort of green wave throughout the week, we're sifting through the details to sort of see what sort of momentum might be keeping up throughout the trading day today. And one of those areas is earnings action. So we're going to start there. Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings today?
We're starting off with AMAT, Applied Materials, Apple Michael, Apple Tom. They beat by 12 cents on higher revenue. Hey, I read the report. It came in as expected. There were no real surprises. It was a fine report. But H&R Block, ticker HRB, Henry Richard Boyd, they beat by 15 cents last night, and they did it on higher revenue and more. I mean, it was a very positive report. You look at that stock, it's up 8.98% this morning. Flower Foods, ticker FLO, Frank Larry Oscar, they beat by 3 cents, but it was done on lower revenue. You look at the stock, it's down 0.26% this morning. Nothing significant. But upcoming, Monday morning we have Estee Lauder, ticker EL, Edward Larry. They're set to release. EPS is 25 cents. Expected move is 10.51%. The makeup and beauty sector, luxury sector like that, it's really been weak across the board. I don't know. I'd be real cautious about Estee Lauder. Maybe get in, if it breaks, 85, but I'm cautious on Estee Lauder. Palo Alto Networks, ticker PANW, Paul Apple, Nancy Williams, they're set to release Monday afternoon. Okay, so, they have an EPS of $1.41 and expected move of 9.56% when they release. Stocks trading a little lower this morning. If it, falls to the 330, range, it's something that should be considered. But Palo Alto Networks are releasing Monday afternoon, Emily, and that's what I have for you in terms of a market update report or earnings report, Emily.
And Bill, a quick note here. AMAT was indeed your pick of the day yesterday. That report, not bad. Investors aren't loving it this morning, but by the end of the show, we're going to see if you were able to get out with a win with AMAT yesterday. Now we're going to turn to the day's economic events, at least some housing data to come out that's worth watching. This week has been chock full of economic events, and there's still more coming out today. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of economic events today?
Yeah, you got a couple of reports coming out. We got the housing starts and building permits coming out at 8:30 a.m. At 10 a.m., we get that University of Michigan consumer sentiment report. 1 p.m., we get the Baker Hughes rig count figures. At 1:25 p.m., we're going to hear from Chicago Fed Bank President Austin Goolsbee. He's been really pressing, for a rate cut, so we'll have to see what he has to say. But it'll likely be a dovish commentary, which could be helpful to the markets. Housing starts are expected to decrease to an annual rate of 1.330 million in July after jumping, in June. Well, what else do we see? The University of Michigan consumer sentiment, I don't pay too much attention to it, mainly because it's a report that's owned by Reuters, and Reuters sends it out to their algorithmic clients before opening up to the market. So I find that to be a little bit of a problem, and that's why I don't really look at it. But next week we get the Fed meeting minutes. They're coming out on Wednesday. That could be a big highlight for the week. And of course we have the Jackson Hole summit that's happening Thursday and Friday next week. They're going to be talking about what they learned from this recent economic shift since COVID. So we'll have to wait and see. But there's definitely going to be some market moving comments that's going to be coming out of Jackson Hole next week, Emily, and that's what I have for you in terms of economic update.
When those market moving comments come out, Bill, you'll be the first to see it. You're able to track all of that, those economic events. You're looking ahead already to next week because you have NewsWare, and you're able to track this information very easily. And speaking of data and information, you're also tracking day in and day out other types of news. And you're the first one to see it as this information hits the tape because you have your alerts set up in things like merger news, guidance news, buyback news, other catalysts. You also are able to group stocks together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, on this Friday, what else do you see as possibly moving the markets today?
We get the S&P is now down 0.28%, almost 0.3%. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 16 lower, 13 higher, the rest unchanged. I'm looking at my FANG stocks. I'm really seeing some weakness in the FANG stocks, with the exception of Netflix. It's trading, fractionally higher, about a 0.5% higher. A little concerned about that, but it does look like we're going to have a weaker opening, which is okay because we had such a big gain this week. Apple, ticker AAPL, down fractionally. I saw a story out this morning about Apple's tight grip on revenue from its App Store in Europe is weakening as EU third parties are being allowed to use alternative payment methods. This has really been a staple of Apple's revenue growth, so that is concerning. It depends on if it catches on. I don't think it really will, but there is a chance that it can. Google in the state of California, the state government is allowing for acceptance of digital IDs like driver's licenses on cell phones. That's for the Android operating system and the iPhone, which is good. Meta Platforms lawmakers are inquiring on illicit drug ads that appear on Instagram and other apps. Going Dow Jones 30, we're talking Johnson and Johnson. Jury found that in South Carolina found that Johnson and Johnson's baby powder caused the victim's lung cancer. Okay, that'll probably be appealed. Chevron, ticker CVX. I mean, Chevron's down hard this morning. It's down 0.6%. It was down bigger earlier. Now, I think there's this big energy conference in Denver that starts next week, which could be positive for the stock. And I think oil's not going to be, oil could start to turn higher next week, but we'll have to wait and see. But Chevron is a stock to watch. Walmart, ticker WMT, trading a little lower this morning, but I see multiple price targets arising coming in from major brokers this morning on Walmart, ticker WMT. In terms of merger news, I want to bring this up. Paramount Global, ticker PARA, Paul Apple, Richard Apple, media executive Edgar Bronson Jr. He said to be preparing a bid for Paramount. That could come in. That could come in as soon as Monday. We'll have to wait and see what happens on that. In terms of guidance, AMAT, ticker AMAT, they see Q3 EPS coming in $2 to $2.36. Street estimate was at $2.14. That's good. That's not horrible. H&R Block, on the other hand, they see full year 2025 adjusted EPS coming in $5.15 to $5.35. Street estimate was at $4.68. That's a big uptick. We like H&R Block. No real shareholders meetings going on today, but in terms of buyback news, H&R Block, ticker HRB, Henry Richard Boyd, they announced a 1.5 billion share buyback. That's big. Terms Catalyst calls SWS, that's Southwestern Gas. Citibank opens up a 90-day upside catalyst watch on the stock. And Bank of America removes two names from its U.S. Focus One list. They remove CCJ, Charlie John, Cameco, and Vontier Corp, which is ticker VNT, Victor Nancy Tom. Victor Nancy Tom and CCJ, Charlie John, being removed from U.S. #1 focus list from Bank of America. And that's what I have for you about news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what is your pick of the day to end this week?
Yeah, this is a tough one because there's no real good earnings coming out this afternoon or Monday morning. But I'm going to do a play on Southwest Airlines, ticker LUV, Larry Uncle Victor. There are some key comments late yesterday from one of Southwest Airlines' biggest shareholders with respect to the board nominees from Elliott, where they're saying, listen, they like their nominees. They find that their nominees are industry executives with real deep experience that could really help Southwestern Airlines. So I think that's going to be positive to kind of, get that proxy gear, it's a proxy fight essentially right now, but I think they're going to nominate these guys because they're quality, they're good, and Southwest Airlines needs that. Their current management has not been doing a great job. You look at it, the call volume, 16,354 calls traded yesterday versus 15,010 puts. positive. Open interest 262,301 versus 207,428. Again, positive. Major brokers, they got price targets in the high 20s, which is okay. But this isn't an earnings play. This is more of a play on the Southwest Airlines getting new board nominees. So I'm looking to get in, 26.45, 26.50, and I think I can run at least 1% because I think there will be some, positive momentum throughout the day in the stock on ticker LUV, Larry Uncle Victor, and that's my pick of the day, Southwest Airlines, ticker LUV, Emily.
Southwest Airlines, it is today. We will follow that along with you, trading off some news. Again, you're gathering that from NewsWare. And coming up, we will do that recap on yesterday's pick of the day, as I promised. So stay with us. But ahead of that, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, let's open this up. MCHP, microchip got an upgrade, Piper Sandler. Okay. It's something, Alibaba and Walmart are bellwethers. Yeah, their earnings weren't no bad. They were good. There's a report out there saying iPhone shipments continue to recover in China. Pfizer and BioNTech update on their mRNA-based combination vaccine program. I don't think they got approval. I think that they didn't get approval for it. Yeah, Texas Instruments, ticker TXN, Tom X-Ray Nancy, they're getting $1.6 billion in Chips and Sciences Act for fabs in Texas and Utah. Very positive. Stocks trading higher. Kroger, ticker KR, they're going to be low on grocery prices by $1 billion in order to appease regulators in that Albertsons deal. Abercrombie and Fitch, ticker ANF, Apple Nancy Frank, they're partnering with Indeed Brands on new distribution for kids. MDWD, Michael David, William David, MetaWound, they say that the FDA approved their Nexo Bridge for pediatric burn patients. GSK, Gray Sam Kilo, GlaxoSmithKline Beckham wins a Zantac case in Florida, which was claiming the heartburn drug caused cancer. GSK won. NVS trading a little higher. Novartis as it released negotiated drug cost structure for Medicare. Ford automakers recalling 85,000 Explorer SUVs. That's all I have for you happening this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we sign off for the weekend, get to trading on this Friday, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day, which was Applied Materials, ticker AMAT. Now, I'm seeing a bunch of mixed notes from brokers this morning on the stock, some raising price targets, some lowering, but a couple of buy ratings that also came across the tape. As you did tell us, Applied Materials did report earnings yesterday. They reported a Q3 EPS of $2.12, ahead of the consensus of estimates around $2.02. They reported revenue of $6.78 billion, again ahead of consensus estimates of $6.67 billion. You also gave us that note during your NewsWare Alerts breakdown on their guidance for Q3, which was, in line, maybe a little bit below, but sort of the midpoint of consensus there. So overall, not a bad report, but sometimes good isn't good enough, Bill, with this one. But you were trading it yesterday. How did your call work out?
Well, look at the numbers. I mean, the fact is we go for 1% gains on these picks, and the 1% was there. I mean, stock opened up at 207.31. It did fall down to 204.28, but then it rallied and closed at 211.83. So, you use that opening price at 207.31 and you see that it closed at 207. That beats the 1%. So that was great. But, I had a price target in there of 201. I was really looking for it to fall, and it didn't hit my price target. It didn't come close to it. And so I never really felt comfortable jumping on board. But, the 1% was there if you got in at the opening price. But, the earnings weren't bad. Stocks falling this morning, but yesterday during the day, I mean, it had the benefit of, a strong market behind it. So, yeah, it did beat the 1% goal, which is, what we shoot for. And as we say, if you get the 1%, take it and walk away. Going for 2% is twice as hard as 1%. And when you have it, just stay green. Stay green. Don't try and be the hero. Don't try and get these outsized gains because, that's much harder to do than you think. And, if you shoot for 1% every day, you're likely to make money on a regular basis. And that's what we do here. That's why, our picks, consistently prove. Didn't work out for me because I was looking for something cheaper. But, if you got it at the opening price, you made your 1%, you should be happy. Yeah, so it worked out, just not for me, Emily.
I still think a chance for a win there, getting that 1% yesterday in AMAT. And we will check in with you on Monday about today's pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here Monday and each weekday morning next week at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Bonney, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.